This is WTVD 11 News with Larry Stogner and Miriam Thomas. The exclusive AccuWeather forecast with Mike Kaplan and all the latest sports with Ron Savage. Now, WTVD 11 News, Night Watch.
Good evening. There is great joy in Granville County tonight, but total frustration in Raleigh.
State leaders today basically vetoed putting a hazardous waste incinerator in Butner, and in the process undid several years of work by the Hazardous Waste Management Commission. In the end, it came down to a simple majority vote by the North Carolina Council of State. 9 elected officials, including the governor and lieutenant governor. And when the smoke cleared, the whole thing had been dumped back in the lap of the General Assembly, where it started. More tonight from WTVD's Dave Bullock.
All those who are in favor of the motion will vote by raising your right hand.
Hands up. Hands up. Hands up. Hands up.
When only Governor Martin and Lieutenant Governor Gardner voted to provide land for the controversial hazardous waste incinerator, and 7 Democrats voted against, the project died. The Democrats had thrown up all kinds of roadblocks all afternoon, signaling they would vote no.
Mr. Hennes, I'm concerned a little bit about the integrity of the process.
Our guidelines right now are designed, in my opinion, in a very disastrous manner.
The Hazardous Waste Management Commission had tried to make the last-minute case that the incinerator project was needed. Granville County residents, on the other hand, argued successfully that selection of Granville County had been done unfairly by the commission. In the end, the vote was the Democrats against the Republicans, 7-2. The issue was whether to take land away from the Agriculture Department and put the incinerator on it. The Democrats said no. Governor Martin threw in the towel.
That nothing will go forward from this point. The commission is out of money. The commission is out of sites to look at, and the matter, therefore, will rest with the General Assembly.
An angry Hazardous Waste Management Commission chairman also called it quits.
I do not believe that this decision was a good decision for North Carolina. Yes, I will submit my resignation to Governor Martin, and I will do that next week as soon as I have had a chance to consult with the other commissioners.
Other commission members could follow Turner, and that would likely put the group out of business. So what happens next? It was the General Assembly that started this project that came off the tracks today, so it looks like it'll have to be the General Assembly that starts all over again. Dave Bullock, WTVD 11 News, Raleigh.
Today's proceedings were carefully monitored by South Carolina Governor Carroll Campbell, since most of North Carolina's hazardous waste is now shipped to a facility near Sumter, along with waste from 4 other states. Today, Campbell said North Carolina's failure to meet the December 31st deadline for picking a site will lead to its expulsion from the 5-state waste agreement and to our denying North Carolina access to South Carolina's hazardous waste facilities.
Despite that dire warning for the state, opponents of the hazardous waste incinerator have much to celebrate. And that is just what they did earlier tonight at the Butner Sports Arena. Still, as WTVD's George Mallet reports, that celebration was tempered by the fact that their battle is not necessarily won.
Once, they were an angry bunch, protesting, even screaming to get their point across. This picture of a seething Elaine McNeil was seen more than once on this broadcast. Her face, and others, spoke of frustration felt by an entire county. Now, McNeil has calmed down, somewhat.
I'm no less dedicated to that notion, and I'll do it again. And my anger and frustration haven't subsided because this whole process is so ridiculous.
A sentiment found throughout the Butner Sports Arena after the Council of State torpedoed plans for a Granville County incinerator. These people seemed hopeful that the tide had finally turned in their favor. If this is a room filled with renewed optimism, it is also guarded optimism. The principal players here make it clear that their fight is far from over.
You celebrate like hell tonight, but don't lose your energy. We got a long way to go.
Attorney John Pike, who has been a strident voice against the incinerator, still has a lot on his mind. He doesn't like some of the things he heard at today's Council of State meeting.
Phil Kirk and some other guy from North Carolina Business and Industry said that that was going to happen. Just flat out said that if we don't get our incinerator, then people are going to start, their people, North Carolina Business and Industry, is going to start dumping it in the rivers and on the side of the road. And I took it as a threat.
If they dump hazardous waste in Granville County, Pike says they'll go to jail. A comment illustrative of the mood here. These people realize they've won little more than a reprieve, and they say they won't stop their fight until that reprieve turns into a surrender. In Granville County, George Mallet, WTVD.
You're watching the News Channel, WTVD News Channel 11. Now, the news continues with Larry Stogner, Miriam Thomas, Mike Kaplan with the AccuWeather forecast, and Drew Smith on sports. This is News Channel 11 Night Watch.
Good evening, everyone. The company hired to keep North Carolina in the hazardous waste disposal game has decided to take its ball and go home.
Thermalchem today pulled out of the effort to find a place to put the waste burner. The reason? Thermalchem calls it lack of support from state officials. Less support, they say, than when Jim Martin was governor. Some folks in Northampton County say good riddance. Several opponents were arrested 2 years ago protesting Thermalchem's choice of an incinerator site near the town of Woodland. But that is a town divided. Supporters had hoped the incinerator project would boost the local economy. Let's go live to News Channel 11's Anthony Wilson in Northampton County tonight. Anthony?
Well, Miriam, tonight's news is not good for the folks who used to meet in that antique store across the street. They believe that the idea of the Thermalchem hazardous waste incinerator was a good idea for the company, or for the city and the county, but not everyone around here shares that opinion. At Woodland's gas station and mini-mart, there are a few tears being shed for the hazardous waste facility that won't be coming to the county.
Good. Very good.
What about the jobs it could have brought?
Well, it doesn't matter anyway. It wasn't here before.
I opposed of it. I really didn't like it coming. I'm glad it hadn't.
I think it would be a good idea for jobs for people, but as far as the chemicals and stuff, I don't think it's a good idea.
Anything that really affects your health, I really don't want it around here no way. So.
What about the rest of the people in town that might be looking for jobs?
Well, I guess you have to go out and do something else.
Well, that is not as easy as it sounds. I'm told that the economy is pretty bad down here. But in spite of that, after a $4 million investment, Thermalchem is calling it quits. We're live in Northampton County. Anthony Wilson, News Channel 11.
And as he said, Northampton was the county chosen for the state's hazardous waste incinerator. That incinerator would have been located in the town of Woodland. The facility would have handled 50,000 tons of waste a year. North Carolina produces 11,000 tons of hazardous waste annually.
So, what next? Well, let's ask Steve Levitas, Deputy Secretary of North Carolina's Department of Environment, Health, and Natural Resources. He is joining us live in our Raleigh newsroom tonight. Mr. Levitas, hello.
Good evening.
How big a setback is Thermalchem's departure?
Well, Miriam, there's a tremendous amount of hazardous waste capacity in this country, in large part because industry has done such a good job reducing the waste it generates. There's some 100 facilities around the country that receive waste from North Carolina companies, and at the same time there are hundreds of firms that ship waste into the 12 commercial facilities here in North Carolina. It's really a vibrant and very competitive national market. There's certainly no hazardous waste capacity crisis in this country.
So do we still need one in North Carolina?
Well, our administration had put in place and has put in place a process to answer exactly that question. We went to the legislature and got consensus support from business, from environmental groups, from local government to look at that question, to examine it closely before we made any decision. We've got that process underway. We're still fully committed to that process, and we will carry it forward. That's our obligation to the people of this state, and we will go forward with that effort.
All right then, as you do move forward, if in fact you decide you're going to continue on the track we were on, is Thermalchem going to be easy to replace?
Well, if we find at some point in the future that there's a need for hazardous waste capacity in this state, as I said, it's a very competitive marketplace, and I'm sure there are many firms that would be interested in providing that capacity. But it's really not a business that state government needs to be in. The private sector is handling this part of our economy very well.
Okay, and one other thing, if in fact we do move along and continue on the track we were on until now, is Northampton County going to be the place where the thing would be sited and built?
Well, there has never been a state determination of a site for a hazardous waste facility. Thermalchem had initiated that site voluntarily and on its own So we would just have to address that issue if and when the occasion arose.
So at any rate, Northampton County's off the hook for now.
It appears to be, yes.
And Thermal Chem's out.
So I understand.
All right. Thank you very much for clarifying a lot of questions for us there.
Thank
Steve
you very much.
Levitas with the North Carolina Department of Environment, Health, and Natural Resources. A petition, interestingly, has been filed to stop Thermal Chem from operating a hazardous waste incinerator in Rock Hill, South Carolina. Lawyers for the watchdog group Government Accountability Project filed the petition because they say the incinerator poses serious threats to public health and the environment. In a 38-page petition, lawyers cite a history of odors and alleged malfunctioning pollution control devices as reasons the plant ought to be shut down.
It's not simply white steam coming out the stack. It is a noxious chemical that burns our eyes, irritates our nose, makes us ill.
The group filed its petition with the Environmental Protection Agency. This summer, the EPA announced that waste plants would undergo more scrutiny before any of them get permits to operate.